Hi, I'm Clyde Lewis, and welcome to another edition of Ground Zero Behind the Scenes. Today, I just got word that there's going to be a joint drill, war games drill, between the United States and Russia, and that's going to be going on in the state of Colorado. And where are they going to be doing most of their activities? Near the Denver airport, which is strange because, once again, the Denver airport is another significant end times place where a lot of strange things are supposed to be going on, and part of the great Illuminati plan of 2012. Now, we've been talking about the Denver airport before as a place of intrigue and mystery and strangeness, and so it gives me an excuse to go over some of the things that the Denver airport has, like the murals and the strange sculptures that are there, and just to talk a little bit about the airport and why would they choose Denver of all places. And they're going to be utilizing other places in the western part of the United States, such as the new facility that the NSA has constructed in Bluffdale, Utah. But before we get into that facility more, and we will be looking into that facility on the Ground Zero in a further episode, I want to pay attention right now to the Denver airport conspiracy, or the tricks that are in the wall murals that are there. I did a show a while ago called Another Trick in the Wall. I presented it back in 2009, where I wanted to show that the Denver airport would play a significant role in the Illuminati's plans for 2012 because of some of the sculptures and some of the things that they have that are kind of iffy and strange. For example, you take a look at the airport itself, and as we look at the airport and how it's laid out, you take a look, it has one area here, another area here, down here, and over. Now, if you were to take an overlay and put it on the airport, what you see is you see that it represents a Nazi swastika. And I noticed this when I was looking at the plans before, thinking, what are they thinking and why are they doing this? What is the purpose of having an airport that's the shape of a Nazi swastika? Well, there are a lot of mystical things about this airport. First of all, it was placed on an Indian burial ground. It's actually has an underground part to it, about 8 levels deep. A lot of strange things go on down there. People even believe that aliens are being housed down there. I don't know if any of that's true, but it's certainly a strange airport when you consider that a lot of the things that are there, a lot of sculptures, murals, it brings about what is known as the revelation of the method. And what that is that when you have cloaked revelation, when you have it in plain sight and you can interpret it in many cases, it's a component of what is known as the traumatizing process. They first tell you what they're about to do, and then they carry it out. That's what the Illuminati usually does. And what better way, after all, to demoralize the American people than through unspoken acknowledgement of an enemy that's within, an enemy that's here that you can't do anything about, a shadow government that's controlling everything, the major airports, land grabs, all of these things we've been hearing about with the NDAA and the new executive policies. These are things that were at first conspiracy theory, but are now coming true. Let me show you some of this revelation of the method that I'm talking about here. First of all, you're looking at a horse. And a horse is a horse, of course, of course. It's an old song, right? But this isn't necessarily the kind of horse that you want to deal with. This is a horse that has been nicknamed Lucifer, and for good reason. It's a very evil-looking horse with red eyes that you see when you're at the airport in Denver. The horse is 33 feet tall, and it's pale blue, strangely emaciated. It changes color when the sun sets or is cloudy. Now, the guy who made the horse actually died. A piece of it fell on him and killed him while he was working on it, while he was in the studio 2 years ago, but they managed to put the horse out there. It's there when you visit the airport, and a lot of people believe that it's the pale horse of death. It represents the pale horse of the apocalypse, where, of course, in the scriptures it says, "And I looked and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him." The strange part about Lucifer is when the sun changes or when it's cloudy, Lucifer becomes a black horse. And of course there is another scripture that says, "And before me was a black horse. The rider was holding a pair of scales. And in his hand the scales you heard would sound like a voice among the 4 living creatures saying, 1 quart of wheat for a day's wages and 3 quarts of barley for a day's wages." It's about famine. So we have death and famine, and this horse represents pretty much the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. It's kind of strange. Now you go into the airport, and take a look at what you see here. A gargoyle. A gargoyle, number of gargoyles sitting in suitcases. Now what does that represent? Little demons in suitcases waiting for you at the airport. They're peculiar, and no one knows why they're there. And then you go down something called the Great Hall. And there's a capstone that has this arm that extends out, and there's a keypad attached, and there's a keypad that is blocked so no one can type in this code. Well, it's suggested that the people of Colorado in the year 2094 will use the keypad to open a time capsule that's buried below the stone, and there'll be a message for them to read. And they're hoping that that message will be useful for them in the future. No one knows what's on the message. No one knows the key, the code to get underneath, to get to that capstone, or that stone that's underneath there, the time capsule. But they say by 2094, they'll open it to see what's in there. And of course, if you take a look at the inscription, it says, here we have messages and memorabilia to the people of Colorado in 2094, it says right here, the most worshipful hall of the Grand Order of the Masonic Lodges. March 19th, 1994, it was erected. The New World Airport Commission contributors. What is the New World Airport Commission? Is this an airport that's being led, or at least under the direction of, the New World Order? That's something that you have to consider, especially with all the stuff. Now let's take a look at the pics in the wall. They are the murals that everybody's so anxious about and worried about, because they represent some things that we really need to go into detail and show you, because it's so weird that we're having this confluence of military, both Russian and American, at the Denver airport, especially with what the wall represents. It's interesting to note that people who have attempted to interpret this mural all agree that what the mural is showing at the Denver airport are the different phases of our destruction prior to the New World Order taking over, which many people believe, with this picture showing this fascist, whatever, like Darth Vader character killing the dove, meaning peace. A lot of people believe that the New World Order is the Fourth Reich, and it's represented as such in this mural. The idea that this character, whatever he is, this huge demonic type of dictator character, wipes out the earth, and people are lying there dead underneath him, and people are crying in his wake and destruction and everything else. But what's really curious is this little letter down here, and I want to talk about this letter a little bit. What this letter is an Auschwitz letter. It's a letter that was written in Auschwitz. It says, I once was a little child who longed for other worlds, but I'm no more a child, for I have known fear. I have learned to hate how tragic then is youth, which lives with enemies with gallows ropes. Yet I still believe I only sleep today, that I'll wake up a child again and start to laugh and play. That was written by a 14-year-old girl who died December 18, 1943 in Auschwitz, which I find very fascinating that they decided to leave that there to remind people of the horrors of this type of dictatorship, or the Fourth Reich, that's coming our way. In the mural, you also see some things that are very interesting. Of course, this mural was done prior to 9/11. You see the city of New York, or a big city, on fire, burning up. The mural is showing what a lot of people believe to be the terrorist attacks of 9/11. Now, once the terrorist attacks happened, they removed this area of the mural, because a lot of people saw it as the 9/11 attacks. Kind of coincidental. Again, we were talking about predictive programming in the last episode, how that all happens. If you take a look at this picture in the mural, you see this German child. It's sort of a little German girl, and she's carrying flowers, and she has a Bible, and she has a little watch. And she's got a rose, a locket, a Star of David, and a Bible. The death of Judeo-Christianity is what we see here. And that's what the representation is, the death of Judeo-Christianity, which is also alarming to most people. You take a look at also the indigenous woman. This is an Indian woman that is dead, or a Native American woman holding on to a kachina, lying in a casket. It's interpreted, actually they've interpreted it as the death of the American Indian indigenous cultures. The woman lies in a casket with her dead child. Some people believe that those shown in the caskets represents races and creeds that will be persecuted and eventually eliminated, because this is the plan, is to eliminate 2/3 of the population for global sustainability. You see here an African American, or an African woman, lying in a casket, as well as a representation of the so-called removal of the destiny of nations. Is actually mystical forces are there to eliminate, purify, and discipline a people, and this is what it represents. In fact, there are many people who are Arianists, Luciferians, who believe that we need to wipe out this part of the earth. The African culture needs to be removed off the planet. You take a look at the externalization of hierarchy, plan to bring about a new world order, the new religion, literally the Fourth Ray, or the Fourth Reich, coming down with a gun and eliminating people, destroying things in its wake. And then you see this government, and what it does, kills the dove, And I just find the interpretation of this mask, this kind of like a Darth Vader look or whatever, and of course it represents the reduction actually of the population, which is part of the plan. And we were talking about this the other night. We were talking about the new plan that they were going to be putting out there in June. And you take a look at what he's wearing. He's wearing a hat that has this symbol on it, or it looks like a Nazi symbol, or this is a new USA symbol that they were trying to implement as well, that is on the hat. And then you see the one girl in the mural is holding the Mayan calendar, representing that this should happen around 2012. And of course, the locket watch also represents that the time is near. Mayan calendar, time is near, and this is what the mural, a lot of people say, represents. Then you see all the people come together in peace to defeat this masked phantom. You see that he's dead, he's lying there dead. They bring with them all their weapons and implements of death to one young man who just happens to be a little German boy, which I find interesting that they've decided to use this little German boy. Now, why a German boy? Well, it's a theory, but the Windsors actually are right now in power in England, and they are literally the Saxe-Coburg-Goth family. They're not really Windsors, they're not really English, they're German. A lot of people believe that Prince William, of course, is part of the Illuminati's plans to bring a king of the world, that they will crown him, or at least they've already crowned him Prince and King of the World on the Cosmotic pavement, which was during the wedding of him and Kate Middleton. However, we don't know that that this may be it, but it seems a little odd that they're using this kind of religious imagery to make Prince William look like a Christ-like figure in the future, which may be the Illuminati plan for 2012. A lot of people say it may be during the Olympics, it may be something else. In the meantime, it's just some strange stuff going on as we see the coming together of the United States Army and other armies of the Russians moving together near the Denver airport for war games. And we'll keep an eye on this and report on it on Ground Zero. But in the meantime, I thought it would be a good idea and a good excuse to revisit the murals and the strangeness that is the Denver airport. I'm Clyde Lewis, and you've been watching Ground Zero Behind the Scenes.